Hello and good morning on this Thursday. So, today, just making sure I've got the damn camera pointing the right way around. Okay, I've got the camera pointing the right way around. So, today we're going to do something different. Well, we're not going to do something different, we're going to talk about something different. And that is film. And that's film is the original and the best Predator movie from 1987. And even though I haven't seen the new one, I know that it won't be, I know I won't like it as much as I like Predator, because I don't need to see a film to know whether I like it as much as I would like another one in its series. Well, how can you say that? Well, because the original Predator is not the same as the original Predator. The new movie is a completely different premise. First of all, the Predator is the hero of the story in this. So, straight away, there is a really key difference. The Predator was the antagonist in previous films. So, yeah, that movie that's just come out on Predator Badlands, it's a different premise. And it might be a good film in its own right, I'm not saying that. But if you're putting it in the series of movies, now, it's not going to be as good for me, in my opinion. It's not going to be as good as the original movie. None of the subsequent Predator movies have come anywhere near being as good as the original movie. Even the ones that have had the same premise, because a lot of them have missed the point, and I'll talk about that when I get into the park. I'll go into more detail about that. But I'm not saying it's not going to be a good film. I'm not saying I might love it and enjoy it. It won't surpass the original, because the original was a snapshot of a particular time in cinema and in the world at large. You can't replicate that, even if you could have all of the cast remake it today from the original. It wouldn't be as good, and that's just how it is. Anyway, I will see thee in the park. All right. So, as I was saying in my little intro piece, you could take the entire cast, if possible. You can't, because sadly Carl Weathers is no longer with us. But you could take that cast and make the movie today and it wouldn't be as good. Because it's a different age. It's a different attitude. It's a different world. To fully understand how great the original Predator was and on how it worked on the levels it did, you'd have to have lived the 80s. You'd have had to have experienced them to know what the world was like back then. It was a very different world than it is now. And that movie was very much a product of its time, which is why the subsequent sequels have never really hit as well. It wasn't just about an alien coming down and killing people and one guy fighting and defeating it. It was more than that. Predator was a vehicle for Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was really stepping into the peak of his powers in the mid-80s. Now, in the early 80s, he broke through onto the mainstream scene. Conan the Barbarian. He followed it up with Conan the Destroyer, which was a bit disappointing. And that kind of put a full stop on that franchise. Now he was Mr. Universe. He's a huge guy, muscles on muscles, you know, dude's got biceps for eyelids, you know, like, guy is shredded. And at that time, there was another actor who was shredded as well, but he had more of an acting background, filmmaking background, and that was Sylvester Stallone. Now, Stallone had two hugely successful franchises that he could always fall back on if any of his other films didn't really hit pay dirt. Of course, that was Rambo and Rocky. Arnie didn't have that at that time. By the time Predator come out, the only movies, if my memory serves, that had had a sequel were Conan. Terminator was just one film at that time. And he took quite a risk because he was playing the bad guy in that film, which is kind of a big risk to take in that era, to be a baddie in a film when, you know, you were mostly wanting to be the hero. It would be like, I don't know, if Stallone had played the serial killer in Cobra rather than Cabretti, the cop. It would have been a huge risk, because ultimately the bad guy is destined to die at the end of the film. Well, that's how it was back in the 80s. It was very simple and straightforward, with good guys and bad guys. And the bad guys always lost. At the end of the film, they'd die in a appropriately horrific way, which was always great, because they always did really bad and horrific things as bad guys. They were evil. There was no ambiguity. There was no, you know, oh, actually they were the victim. No, they were bad guys. You know, there was a greater morality back then. Baddies were baddies and goodies were goodies. So these two naturally had formed something of a rivalry because of the fact that their forte was action films, and they both were like the peak physical specimens. They really were. Like, if you've never seen any of those movies from that era, go back and look. You know, action heroes were big guys. They were shredded. By the time Predator comes, and I'm saying this to give you a sort of background, because by the time Predator comes out in 1987, these two had racked up a body count in their movies that would have been akin to the kind of body count, you know, a mass murdering dictator would have racked up. These guys were off the charts. In fact, back in the 80s, they used to have a body count for movies when they were coming out. Yeah, believe it or not. The kill count was a thing, and it was used actually to promote a film. Imagine that. I mean, you don't get that these days, but you did back then. I mean, that was just part of it. It was part of the marketing. You know, if you, movies would quite frequently push triple figures in how many bad guys would get wasted. I mean, in Commando, Arnie basically annihilates a small army. It's like, you know, it's implied it's some sort of, I don't know if it was South American or Caribbean island dictatorship, but he goes in there by himself. Well, actually, you know, he goes in there with a female sidekick, but she just flies in there. She's just a pilot, and he basically goes in there and wipes everybody out. I mean, it's so over the top hilarious, but it was great. It was great fun. I mean, there's a scene where he's just walking bolt upright, firing a machine gun from the hip, and there's 30 or 40 of these guys shooting back at him. None of them get near him, and he just shooting from the hip. He's not even aiming, and he just completely annihilates them. Absolutely fantastic. You know, he gets a small, at the end of the film, he's fighting a guy called Bennett in one of the most legendary scenes ever committed to action movies. And he's fighting a guy, Bennett. I think it's Vernon Wells was the actor. He's an Australian actor. He was in Mad Max 2. I don't know if it's called The Road Warrior in the US, but over here it was called Mad Max 2, and he basically has the mohawk. He's the muscle guy, the mohawk. Is it not Lord Humongous? He's got the hockey mask on, not Jason Voorhees looking guy. He's his sidekick. And he's got like a big mohawk and war paint on. Absolutely hilarious. So camp, so over the top, so awesome. Anyway, that guy, I think his name's Vernon Wells, the actor. He plays Bennett in Commando. He's kind of like a roided out Freddie Mercury. That's what he looks like. He's got like the same hair, and he's got a Freddie Mercury moustache going on, and he's got a chainmail vest. And he fights Arnie in the end, and Arnie has a little dab of blood at the corner of his mouth. But of course the legendary bit is that Arnie throws a pipe, a broken pipe, through Bennett, into a boiler behind him, and steam's coming out of this pipe, and as Bennett croaks his last breath, Arnie drops an absolutely earth-shattering one-liner. Let off some steam, Bennett. That's a terrible Arnie impression, but at that moment it was like, yeah, this is fantastic. Nobody dropped a one-liner better than Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was just perfect for the 80s. You married absolute violence with comedy one-liners. Crazy, I know, but that's the way it was. Point is that between them, Arnie and Stallone had basically wiped out the population of planet Earth at this time. So it was safe to assume that there was absolutely no one on Earth that could defeat these guys. So what do? You up the ante, don't you? And that's what they did. They upped the ante. If there's nobody on Earth that can stand up to these guys, you have to import somebody, an alien. Now, that was the premise. That's why I say Predator was a vehicle for Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, he's a huge guy. Basically, in movies is depicted as not one single human being on Earth can stand up to him. So you bring in an alien. You stick a 7-foot odd big guy in an alien suit, load him up with high-tech weaponry. And even though the actor probably, is still a big guy, but he ain't as shredded as Arnie, but he's an alien, right? So you can get away with him throwing people around like they were rag dolls, because he's not human. And Arnie gets the shit kicked out of him in that film at the end. Like, there's a scene where he punches the alien and he just kind of looks at him as if to say, really? And then like punches him in the head and nearly like fractures his skull. He's beating the crap out of him. I mean, there's blood flying everywhere. You know? So when Arnie, at the end of the movie, because he does kill the Predator at the end of the film, it's more luck than judgment. The alien actually foils the trap that he'd laid. He lays a spike trap, and the Predator foils it, but it sort of stands underneath. I mean, these are spoilers, by the way. I'm sorry. The film was out in. The film's nearly 40 years old, you know. It stands underneath the counterbalance, the counterweight for the trap, which is half a tree, because of course he's Arnie. Arnie was able to lift a 15-ton half a tree trunk by himself, and that drops down onto the Predator's head. It's still not fully dead, it's just, like mortally wounded, and as a parting shot it detonates a small nuclear device, which Arnie was able to escape by diving over a conveniently placed rock. But it's the 80s, so that happens, and we loved it. We never said it was ridiculous, because we knew it was, but we loved it all the same because it's an Arnie film. That's the thing. It was an Arnie film. Arnie's name appeared above the title of the movie. It was Schwarzenegger, Predator. That's what was on the poster at the time. Has there been a Predator film where the actor's name appeared above the actual name of the movie? No. That's because it was an Arnie film. That's what they were. It was a Stallone movie. It was an Arnie movie. This current Predator, no, names are not appearing on the merchandise or promotional material because they ain't selling a film. You know, even the sequel that Danny Glover in, and Danny Glover was popular with the Lethal Weapon movies at the time. And Danny Glover's a pretty big guy. You know, I won't want to mess with him. Didn't it say Glover, Predator 2? I mean, the tagline for the original Predator movie was, you know, it came, I think it was something along the lines of, you know, it came to Earth for the thrill of the hunt. It picked the wrong man. Yeah, because it picked Arnie. You knew Arnie was going to beat it. But this movie was to like really show that Arnie was that hard, Arnie was that good. Arnie was so strong that he could even defeat an undefeatable intergalactic alien space hunter. It was like he did that and then went to Stallone. What you got, son? What have you got in your locker? Because how you gonna beat that? That's what it was about. That was the essence of these movies back then. It's what people don't understand. So to go into a bit of a synopsis about the movies, it's essentially split into two parts. The first part introduces you to the elite special forces team that Arnie is the head of. And these are all big guys. Well, most of the team are. You got a couple of characters who are normal sized dudes, but still, you know, physically fit guys. Probably what you would call standard fitness and size levels for an average soldier, for a normal soldier, for a normal special forces soldier, shall we say. The rest of them are just shredded. And in the first part of the movie, they're recruited to rescue some VIPs, as it were, that have sort of strayed. The story that's spilled, you know, they strayed over the border in a helicopter which got shot down by some sort of revolutionary force guerrillas in a sort of unnamed South American country. But it's a bit of a setup. Dylan, played by Carl Weathers, God rest his soul, who, by the way, shares the meme, if you didn't know, the two muscle-armed, like, it's not really a handshake, but like a greeting you'll see on the internet, which is a symbol of buddies, is actually from that film. It's cheesy as hell. It's just a shot to show biceps and strength. And yeah, Carl Weathers recruits them, but he spins them a story. They're not really there to rescue a politician, a cabinet minister, they're called in the film. He's not there to do that. Carl Weathers is actually recruiting him to take out a build-up of soldiers and destroy equipment at this rebel camp. Now we can assume that they're communist revolutionaries because there were Russian military advisors that they're also at this camp. So Arnie's team goes in there and they effortlessly annihilate this entire army. Well, I don't know if it would be an entire army. It's not the entire army because it's implied that there are further rebels in the area, but a pretty sizable force is wiped out effortlessly. That's to illustrate that these guys are the best. I mean, they keep saying it in the film, but unlike today's movies where they go, "Oh, you're the best," and everyone goes, "Yeah." No, they actually showed it back then. They took the effort to actually show you that they were the best. They were so well organised, disciplined, highly trained, unstoppable. They show it you on screen. They show you how they work as a unit, how they work as a team, and they absolutely annihilate these people in minutes. They wipe out the Russian military advisors who were trying to escape in a helicopter. And it's a massacre. Unbeknownst to the team, there's somebody watching all of this, or something watching this in the trees. It's invisible. It's the predator. And its motivation is a hunter. It's a sport hunter. It wants to take out the toughest and most dangerous prey to prove its superiority. And one by one, it starts to pick off the team. Now, the whole thing with part one is to show you how good this team is, and to show you how this creature wipes them out with relative ease. So you get just a build-up. You just get a build-up of it. You build up the team, and then you actually see what this predator can actually do as it goes on and wipes him out. By the time you get to the end of the film, it's just Arnie. By the way, no Arnie film in that era was complete without a one-liner. He literally throws a machete, impales a guy to the wall, smiles at him and says, "Stick around." At that point, you know this is the greatest film that's ever been made. It's a 10 out of 10. And if you disagree, well, let's just say somebody needs to make you let off some steam. So, in the end, you have a mano-a-mano contest. Arnie versus the Predator. Arnie just about prevails. And you discover at the end that the Predator's actually a pretty bad loser. Like I say, it decides rather than let Arnie survive, it's going to blow the whole area up. But there's actually a thing with that as well, is the Predator's doing that so it and its equipment can't be recovered. That's one of the few themes that actually did make it into some subsequent films. They don't want people getting hold of their stuff because it's very high tech. This film is one of my favourite films of all time. It is the absolute epitome of an action movie done well. It not only gives you background enough into the characters, but it actually shows you them in action, a thing that a lot of movies today don't do. They don't give the characters a build-up. to justify their abilities. They cut straight to the chase. They're too busy telling you. And consequently, that's why they fail quite often. They just tell you, oh, they're great, or they'll have other characters going, oh, they're great. But they don't actually show it. Let's go back this way. And that's kind of infuriating. And it's bad filmmaking. When this film came out, I was 13, 12 or 13, depends which end of 1987 it was. I think I was 12, 13, the oldest. In the UK, it was a certificate 18, as many Arnie movies were back then because of the sheer amount of violence that was in them. On a Friday night, my mum used to go to a flower arranging club, and me and my dad used to sit and watch films. He'd rent a couple of films out from the local video rental store. That particular night, which for me was singularly the best night of films ever, he rented both Predator and RoboCop. Two action-packed, mega-violent, awesome films. We absolutely loved him. He was great. What a night of entertainment, eh? I used to, back then, it'd be about £2.50 per film, and you'd rent them out for a couple of nights. So I actually got to watch them again the following day, and boy did I. I couldn't wait for that film to come out on sale. What a lot of these video stores did back then was they would sell ex-rental copies of their films once the popularity of the film started to drop off. They would sell you a couple of ex-rental copies so they would have space to bring in the new stock to show them. And I've got both Predator and RoboCop on VHS X rentals. They have the big case. They'd have the big case. And it was brilliant. You know, one thing that some people don't realise is that the X-rental cassettes, VHS cassettes, were actually of superior quality to the ones that you would buy, because they had to be more durable, because they were going to be used frequently. So a few people don't know that. But yeah, they were of a better quality cassette. But anyway, I just love that film straight away. But like, best night of entertainment ever. Predator and RoboCop. Absolute 80s mayhem at its best. You got big guys, big guns, explosions, everything. It just captured the imagination. And it's a simple story told well. There's layers to it if you want to peel back the onion. Friendship, betrayal, if you want to go down deep, but you don't have to enjoy the film. You don't have to. It's just there. Story, the surface level story is good enough and sound enough to hold up of its own. Even the special effects for the day were great. In the original cut, they've actually edited it out in the subsequent releases, but in the original release, when Dylan, played by Carl Weathers, gets his arm blown off by the Predator, you can actually see his real arm sort of tucked down by his side. In the subsequent releases, be it like DVD or Blu-ray, that's actually been taken out. Kind of a shame, really. It loses a bit of its cheesiness. But yeah, they edited that bit out. The scene's still there, but just the bit where you can see his arm briefly, they took out. Which is a shame. Just loses a little bit of its character doing that. But yeah, it's a great film. The sequel that came out, I think it was 1990, had Danny Glover in it, and at that point, unfortunately, Arnie wasn't in it. Arnie wasn't in it because I think he was committed to Terminator 2, which of course we all know went on to be one of the best films of all time. But it was a shame. But we got Danny Glover and he did a really good job. Let's be frank, he was never going to have the pull that Arnie had. I think a lot of people were a bit disappointed that Arnie wasn't in it. But the reality was it was still a good film. It took Predator from the concrete jungle. Sorry, from the natural jungle to the concrete jungle, which was a decent trade. But there was a running theme that has seemingly vanished, rather annoyingly, from Predator movies. And that was these creatures only turn up when it's really hot. It's emphasised in both the first two films. Anna, the rebel captive, she describes the Predator. She says only in the hottest years this happens, and this year it grows hot. Predator 2 is a record heat wave in Los Angeles, and there's conflict, heat and conflict. It's very clear, it's very simple, and it works as a device as to why these things aren't on Earth all the time. And that was subsequently ditched, apart from the movie Predators, where they really make a very sort of mess of it. The Predator, sorry, not Predators. The Predator. Where they rather clumsily shoehorn in climate change is an embarrassment, to be perfectly honest with you. You know. But yeah, it's the Aliens vs Predator film that come out, balls that up completely. They made a right pig's ear of it because they set it, is it the Arctic or Antarctic? Anyway, like, oh, let's go to one of the coldest places on Earth where there's literally no conflict. literally no conflict. And it's all under the, well, there's a temple there and it's a training thing. No. It's very, very clear in Predator and Predator 2. They're attracted by heat and conflict. Aliens versus Predator screwed everything up. They put aliens on Earth when the whole point of the 3 alien movies, was it 3 or 4? Might have been 4 alien movies at that point that preceded it, was that aliens don't ever get to Earth. Because if they do, that's it. It's one of the things that Alien Earth is screwed up. They've put aliens on Earth. How stupid can you get? What was the point of 4 alien movies that went to enormous lengths to stress why that would be disastrous? And then filmmakers, TV show makers just come along, clueless as ever, donating brain cells they don't have, and put the alien on Earth. Well done, guys. Screwing the law and franchises up and established mechanics for those franchises just because you want to tell a story makes you an utter prick, in my view. They clearly do not understand the franchise, don't understand clear key motives in them franchise. And then the butt heads that made Aliens vs Predator, not just an alien, a queen alien with eggs and facehuggers on Earth that's been there for apparently thousands of years. Great. So this is when I say nothing comes to the original Predator movie that can be better than it. This new one, now you've got a Predator who's the good guy. I want to tell the story from the point of view of the Predator. No, because you'll humanise it, and that's exactly what they've done. You're humanising it. You take it, you're defanging the beast. Once you've done that, you've screwed it. You can't go back. He did really well with Prey, I thought, in making a really savage Predator. But now it's like, we've got nice guy Predator. Really? The film itself might be great, but in terms of the Predator lore, the Predator mythology, it don't work. It's the boogeyman. It's the beast. Arnie, it was built up at that time in that original movie as the toughest hombre on the planet, the toughest guy, the apex of humanity. He barely escaped with his life. Anyway, Predator, fantastic film, brilliant movie, absolutely amazing, will not be surpassed. Because it's just not possible, because it was a product of its time. And that's all there is. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll be back with something else tomorrow, hopefully. So I will see you then.